Hi there. Welcome to today's episode. I'm Emily, and I'm so excited to dive into a topic that's very close to my heart. Today, we're talking about something almost every English learner struggles with: listening skills. So many learners say, I can read and write well, but when I listen to native speakers, I just can't keep up. Sound familiar? If so, you're definitely not alone. Listening can feel overwhelming, especially when words seem to fly by too quickly. But don't worry, because in this episode, we're going to talk about why listening is so important and how you can improve it. We'll discuss common challenges learners face, and I'll share some tips you can start using right away, even if you only have 10 minutes. By the end, you'll have a clear plan to make your listening skills stronger every day. Let's get started. So, why is listening so important for learning English? Let's break it down. First, listening is the foundation of all language learning. When babies learn their first language, they listen long before they speak. It's the same with English. If you want to speak well, you need to train your ears first. Listening helps you understand the rhythm, tone, and flow of the language. These are things you can't pick up just from reading or writing. Imagine you're learning to speak English without ever listening to it. It would be like trying to play a song without hearing the music. The more you listen, the more natural your speaking will sound. It's all about getting your ears used to how English really sounds in conversations. Now, think about how important listening is in real life situations. Watching movies, listening to podcasts, and following instructions at work all depend on your listening skills. If you don't understand what's being said, it's hard to respond naturally. Listening is also key when you need to follow along with someone in a meeting or class. Without good listening, it's easy to miss out on important information. But there's more to it than just understanding words. Good listening also helps with your vocabulary. When you hear words used in real conversations, it sticks better. You can hear how words are used in context, and this makes it easier to remember. Take the word actually, for example. You might read it in a textbook, but when you hear someone say, actually, I don't agree, you understand it's not just about the word, but how it's used in the sentence. This kind of listening practice helps you speak more naturally, too. You start picking up on those small details like pronunciation, rhythm, and even the words that connect ideas. For instance, when native speakers say, what are you doing? It often sounds like what you doing. If you only learn from textbooks, you might miss this. But once you train your ears, you'll start to hear and even speak more like a native. It's all about connecting the sounds to the meaning. Listening teaches you how English really works. Without it, it's hard to get a true sense of how the language is spoken. In short, listening is the doorway to fluency. The more you listen, the better you'll get at speaking, reading, and even writing. So, if you want to improve your English quickly, start by listening more. It's the secret to sounding more natural and confident in your speaking. And the best part is, you don't need to spend hours a day. Just a little listening each day will help you move forward. Let's dive into some of the common challenges that learners face when they try to improve their listening skills. Now, let's talk about the common problems people face when trying to improve their listening skills. First up, one of the biggest challenges is speed. Native speakers often talk so fast. Have you ever felt like people are speaking at lightning speed and you can't keep up? You're not alone. For many learners, the fast pace of natural speech is overwhelming. Words blur together, and it's hard to catch every single one. This happens because in everyday speech, we don't pronounce each word clearly. We blend them together to make conversation faster. For example, what are you going to do today? Often sounds more like, what are you going to do today? If you're not used to it, this can feel like a completely different language. But don't worry. With practice, your ears will get used to this natural speed. Another problem is accents. English is spoken all around the world, and people from different countries have different accents. For instance, British English sounds quite different from American English. And within a country, you'll find even more variations. An Australian might sound completely different from someone from the UK or the US, even though they're all speaking English. If you've only practiced one type of accent, you may find it really hard to understand someone from a different part of the world. This can be frustrating for learners, especially when they feel confident understanding one accent but struggle with another. The good news is, listening to a variety of accents can help you improve. The more exposure you get, the more your brain will adapt. Next, there's the issue of connected speech. In textbooks, you often see words written clearly and separately. But in spoken English, we rarely pronounce words in isolation. Instead, we connect them together. Take the phrase, "Did you eat yet?" In fast speech, it sounds more like "jeet yet." When you're not used to hearing words connected this way, it can be hard to understand what's being said. And if you don't practice listening to connected speech, you'll miss these important details in real conversations. It's also important to note that everyday speech is full of slang and informal expressions. You might learn textbook English, but in real life, people don't always speak so formally. For example, instead of saying, "I'm going to sleep," you might hear someone say, "I'm going to crash." Or instead of saying, "That movie was very good," you might hear, "That movie was lit." If you only learn from textbooks, you may not recognize these expressions when you hear them in real life. This is where listening practice becomes key. The more you listen to real conversations, the more you'll get used to these informal expressions. Finally, there's the emotional side of listening. Many learners feel nervous or anxious when they don't understand something right away. It's easy to panic and lose focus if you miss the first few words or phrases in a conversation. And once you start feeling stressed, it's hard to get back on track. You might end up missing even more. It's completely normal to feel frustrated, but it's important not to give up. Listening can be tough, but with patience and consistent practice, you'll improve. To summarize, the main challenges in listening are speed, different accents, connected speech, slang, and nervousness. But here's the great news. All of these problems can be overcome with the right strategies. In the next section, we'll talk about some practical tips you can use to tackle these challenges and improve your listening skills. Now that we've talked about the common problems learners face with listening, let's move on to some solutions. The good news is, all these challenges can be solved with the right practice and strategies. So, how do we improve our listening skills? Well, there are two main types of listening practice: active listening and passive listening. Let's start with active listening. Active listening is when you pay full attention to what you're listening to. For example, you might listen to a short podcast episode or an audio clip, and you focus completely on the words. You could take notes, repeat what you hear, or even try to catch new vocabulary. This kind of listening is like a workout for your ears. It requires effort, but it helps you improve quickly. Active listening is great because it helps you focus on every detail. You catch the rhythm, pronunciation, and even small words that make conversations flow. Now, what about passive listening? This type of listening is more relaxed. It's when you let English play in the background while you do other things. You might listen to an English podcast while cooking, walking, or even before going to sleep. The goal here isn't to understand every word, but to let your ears get used to the natural flow of the language. Think of passive listening like a brain workout. You're not actively focusing, but you're still absorbing the sounds, rhythm, and intonation. Both types of listening are important, but you can't rely on just one. Active listening helps you focus on details, while passive listening helps your brain get used to natural English. A mix of both is key to improving. Let's talk about another way to think about listening: intensive listening versus extensive listening. Intensive listening is when you focus on short pieces of audio or video. Maybe you listen to a 30-second clip and play it multiple times. You focus on every detail, trying to catch every word, every pronunciation, and every tone. For example, you might watch a short movie scene and listen to it 3 or 4 times. You can break it down and analyze every part of the conversation. Intensive listening is great for building a strong foundation in understanding the language, especially when you're learning new vocabulary or pronunciation. On the other hand, extensive listening is more about the big picture. With extensive listening, you listen to longer pieces of audio or video, like a full podcast episode, an audiobook, or even an entire TV show. You're not worried about catching every single word. Instead, you focus on understanding the overall meaning and main ideas. Extensive listening is helpful because it lets you enjoy content and still practice listening to natural English in context. Both intensive and extensive listening are important. Intensive listening builds your detail-oriented skills, while extensive listening helps you understand the bigger picture. Now that we've covered these two categories of listening, let's talk about how to combine them for maximum results. The best approach is to mix both intensive and extensive listening in your daily routine. For example, you can listen intensively to a short podcast episode and then listen to a longer one as part of your extensive listening practice. This way, you'll get a balance of detailed listening and broader understanding, which will help you improve faster. All right, so now you have a clearer idea of the types of listening practice. In the next section, we'll talk about specific strategies that you can use to really boost your listening skills, no matter where you are. Now that we understand the types of listening practice, let's dive into some specific strategies you can use to improve your skills. There are so many techniques that can help you boost your listening, and I'll share some of my favorites with you. First up, let's talk about using subtitles wisely. Many learners watch movies or TV shows with subtitles, but they often don't use them in the best way. If you always watch with subtitles in your own language, you might not be challenging your listening enough. A better way is to use English subtitles. This way, you can connect the sounds you hear with the words you read. Start by watching with subtitles in English, and then try watching without them to see how much you can understand. It's like learning to ride a bike with training wheels. The subtitles can help, but eventually you want to be able to ride without them. Next, another great technique is listening to short clips multiple times. This is a powerful way to focus on details. Take a short podcast episode, maybe just a minute long, and listen to it 3 or 4 times. The first time, just listen to the overall meaning. The second time, pay attention to new words or phrases. And the third time, try to repeat what you hear. This repetition helps reinforce new vocabulary and improves your understanding of pronunciation. It's important to remember that native speakers don't listen to something once and magically understand it. Even they need to listen again if something is important or challenging. So don't be afraid to listen more than once. Another amazing strategy is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to someone speak and immediately repeating what they say, almost like an echo. You try to match the speaker's words, rhythm, tone, and speed. It's a great way to improve both your listening and speaking skills. The best part is, you don't need to get it perfect. The goal is to train your ear and mouth to work together. I highly recommend shadowing with podcasts, YouTube videos, or anything you enjoy listening to. Another fantastic method is combining listening with reading. This is especially helpful if you're listening to audiobooks or have a transcript available. When you listen and read at the same time, your brain starts to make connections between the sounds and the written words. It's a great way to catch connected speech and improve your vocabulary. You'll see how words change when spoken quickly or in different contexts. Let's not forget the resources available to us today. There's so much free content out there, like podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, and music. The key is to choose something you actually enjoy. If you're passionate about sports, music, or cooking, find English content related to those topics. You'll be more motivated to listen when it's something you like. When you enjoy what you're listening to, learning becomes much more fun and effective. One last tip I want to share is the power of repetition. Don't be afraid to listen to the same thing over and over again. Each time you listen, you'll catch something new. As you hear the words more, they become more familiar, and understanding them becomes easier. Even though it might feel repetitive, it's actually helping you build a stronger connection with the language. So, let's recap some of these strategies. Use English subtitles wisely. Listen to short clips multiple times. Try shadowing. Combine listening and reading. Choose content you enjoy and listen repeatedly. By using these techniques regularly, you'll start to notice big improvements in your listening skills. In the next section, we'll look at how you can make listening practice a part of your daily routine, even if you're super busy. Now that we've covered the strategies for improving your listening skills, let's talk about how to make it a daily habit. The key to improving your listening is consistency. You don't need to dedicate hours every day. Even 10 to 15 minutes each day can make a huge difference. So, how can you fit listening practice into your busy routine? It's actually easier than you think. Start by listening to short podcast episodes or audio clips during the time you already have. For example, listen while you're brushing your teeth or having breakfast. These small moments add up over time and will help you build a consistent practice. Another great tip is to use what I call a micro practice moments. These are the small moments in your day when you're not doing anything else. For instance, while walking, waiting for the bus, or cooking, you can easily pop in your headphones and listen to something in English. Even if you're just listening for a few minutes, it all counts. The more you expose yourself to English, the better. You don't need to carve out extra time in your schedule. Simply replace some of your daily activities with English listening. The next tip is to set small, achievable listening goals. For example, you could commit to listening to 5 minutes of English every day. It's a small goal, but once you achieve it, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment. And often, this will lead to you listening for even longer. Setting small goals helps keep you motivated and gives you a clear direction. Remember, it's better to listen for 5 minutes every day than for an hour just once a week. Consistency is much more effective than doing a lot in one go. Another way to make listening a daily habit is to connect it with something you already enjoy. Do you like music? Try listening to English songs. If you love reading, listen to audiobooks. If you're into sports or cooking, find podcasts or videos on those topics in English. When you connect your listening practice to something you love, it feels less like a chore and more like fun. This makes learning more enjoyable and less stressful. And because you're listening to something you enjoy, you'll be more likely to keep doing it every day. Let's talk about tracking your progress. This is a powerful way to stay motivated. For example, keep a log of the podcasts you've listened to or write down new words you've learned. By tracking your progress, you'll be able to look back and see how far you've come. It's a great way to boost your confidence and remind yourself that you're improving. You can even create a simple checklist of your goals and mark off each day when you listen. Over time, you'll be able to see how much you've accomplished. The idea is to make listening practice feel like a natural part of your day. It should be as routine as brushing your teeth or checking your email. When you make it a habit, it won't feel like extra work. It'll just become something you do every day without thinking. So, to recap, here's how to make listening practice a daily habit. Start with short, regular moments. Set small goals and gradually increase your listening time. Connect listening to activities you already enjoy. And track your progress to stay motivated. By making these changes to your routine, you'll be amazed at how much your listening skills can improve over time. In the next section, we'll share some fun activities to help you practice listening even more effectively. Now that we've covered how to make listening practice a daily habit, let's talk about how to stay motivated. It's normal to feel frustrated at times, especially when you don't see immediate results. But don't worry, progress takes time. The key is to focus on the small improvements you're making every day. Even if you don't understand everything at first, keep going. Remember, learning a language is a journey. You won't become fluent overnight, and that's perfectly okay. One way to stay motivated is to celebrate your small wins. For example, when you understand a new phrase or catch a word you didn't know before, take a moment to feel proud. These small victories will keep you motivated and remind you that all the effort is paying off. Another important tip is to focus on progress, not perfection. Many learners want to understand every word in a conversation, but that's not always necessary. It's more important to get the general meaning and focus on understanding the key ideas. Over time, you'll naturally improve your ability to catch more details. Perfection is not the goal here. Instead, celebrate the fact that you're improving and learning new things every day. Also, make sure to surround yourself with support. It's much easier to stay motivated when you have people who encourage you along the way. This could be a language partner, a teacher, or even an online community. Share your progress, ask for advice, and support others who are learning too. Being part of a community makes the learning process more enjoyable and helps you stay on track. Sometimes you might feel like you're not improving as fast as you'd like. If that happens, try to focus on how far you've come instead of how far you still need to go. Take a moment to look back at your earlier listening skills and see how much better you understand now. This perspective shift can give you the motivation to keep going. Another great way to stay motivated is to mix things up. If you find yourself getting bored or stuck, try changing your listening activities. You could switch between podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, or even try listening to songs. New content keeps things fresh and exciting. Don't forget to have fun with it. Learning a language should be enjoyable, not a stressful task. Find content that interests you. If you like cooking, listen to cooking podcasts in English. If you love sports, follow English sports channels. The more fun you have, the more motivated you'll feel. One more tip for staying motivated is to remind yourself of your goals. Why did you start learning English in the first place? Maybe you want to travel, work abroad, or connect with new people. Keep these reasons in mind and use them as motivation when things get tough. When you remind yourself of your why, it can push you through moments of doubt and keep you focused on your long-term goals. So, to wrap it up, here are some ways to stay motivated. Celebrate your small wins, focus on progress over perfection, and surround yourself with support. Mix up your practice to keep things fresh, and always remind yourself of your goals. Motivation is key to staying on track, and with the right mindset, you'll continue to improve every day. In the next section, we'll talk about some practical activities you can try to further enhance your listening skills. Now, let's get to some fun practice activities to help you put all the tips we've discussed into action. The best way to improve your listening skills is through active practice, and there are many simple, enjoyable ways to do that. One of the best activities is to practice listening to natural connected speech. You might have noticed that when native speakers talk, they don't always say every word clearly. Instead, they often link words together. For example, "what are you going to do" sounds like "what you gonna do" in everyday speech. The same goes for "did you eat yet?" which becomes "jeet yet" when said quickly. These natural patterns of speech can be tricky to understand at first, but with practice, you'll start to recognize them, and your listening will improve dramatically. So, here's a fun activity for you to try. Listen to a movie or TV show and pay attention to how words are connected. Try to write down a few examples of connected speech. For instance, you could write down "what's up" as "what's up," then practice saying those phrases out loud. This will help you get used to the natural flow of conversation. Another activity is to listen for key phrases in context. Instead of focusing on every single word, try to catch the main ideas and key phrases. For example, when listening to a podcast, pay attention to the phrases that are used repeatedly or seem important in the conversation. This can help you understand the message, even if you miss a few smaller words along the way. You could also use dictation as a practice tool. This is when you listen to a short audio clip and write down exactly what you hear. This is a great way to practice your listening and writing skills at the same time. It helps you focus on every detail and improve your accuracy. If you're not sure where to start, pick a short podcast or a YouTube video. Listen to it once and try to write down as much as you can. Then, compare what you wrote with the transcript, if available, or listen again to check for mistakes. Another fun activity is to try shadowing, which we discussed earlier. Shadowing is when you listen to someone speak and immediately repeat what they say. trying to match their speed, tone, and rhythm. This activity is great for both listening and speaking because it trains you to recognize sounds and produce them more naturally. You can use shadowing with podcasts, YouTube videos, or even interviews. Pick a short clip, listen, and repeat the sentences right after the speaker. This helps you get used to the natural speed of speech and improves your pronunciation at the same time. If you're looking for a more relaxed way to practice, you could listen to English songs. Songs are a great way to improve your listening skills in a fun, engaging way. You can sing along and try to catch the lyrics. This can help you pick up new vocabulary and get familiar with the natural rhythm and tone of English. Plus, when you enjoy the content, you're more likely to stick with it. So, let's summarize the activities. Practice listening to connected speech. Listen for key phrases. Try dictation. And shadow a speaker. You can also have fun by singing along to English songs. The more you practice, the more your listening skills will improve. In the next section, we'll wrap things up and talk about how to keep your motivation high as you continue your listening journey. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. I hope you now have a better understanding of how to improve your listening skills. Remember, the key is consistency. Whether you're practicing for 10 minutes or an hour, keep it up every day, and you'll see progress. Start small, stay patient, and celebrate the small wins along the way. It's all about building a routine that works for you. And don't forget, listening is the foundation for your speaking, reading, and writing skills. So, the more you listen, the more fluent you'll become. Keep challenging yourself, stay motivated, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope these tips will help you feel more confident in your English learning journey. We'll be back next time with more useful strategies to help you improve your language skills. Keep practicing and take care.